So Marty, as a goalie, you had to face the best players on the planet, and so tell us, who were some of the toughest opponents that you faced, and how did you go about stopping them?
Well, I mean, I was fortunate. I played against some great players. I think Mario Lemieux is probably the guy that was one of the top players. That he was still close to his prime. I played against Wayne Gretzky, but he was a bit older. But Mario was right there. He was so good, and obviously there's players that are really good, but they play at a different conference, so you don't see them as much. But sometimes when they're rivalry players, like Pittsburgh and New Jersey is a big rivalry, and so we got to face them. And if it wasn't Mario, it was Mario and Jagger, And so there was a lot of talent there in Pittsburgh. But Mario Lemieux, I remember, I think the first game he scored like 3 goals. I couldn't even stop him. Second game, he scored 2 goals. Third game, I think he scored another 3 goals. And I was like, am I ever going to be able to stop that guy? And so, and finally, it was like the biggest win. It's like when he didn't score a goal on me. He had probably 4 assists, but at least he didn't score. So yeah, he's one of the guys that give me a lot of trouble. But I was not the only one, so that's good.
The goalies, there's one per team and you're in the spotlight all the time. So there's a lot of pressure. You can't hide from your mistakes as a goalie. They're magnified just because the impact a single goal can have on a hockey game. So how did you deal with that mentally, game to game on a nightly basis?
Well, it just to me, it was the fun of being a goalie. First of all, as a kid, it was like great because I played the whole game. I was on the ice. So that's what I love about being a goalie. I didn't have to go sit on the bench. But I think the pressure of having the game in your hands, regardless of what type of game it is, like you're a deciding factor, I would say, for 90% of the game, probably even more. Because if you decide to let the puck goes in, your team's not winning, and to me, it's a little bit like a pitcher or a quarterback. Like you're on your own bubble, and there's not many people talking to you. You get in your own head at the same time. But the pressure for me was the ultimate. I love being the man, and getting those accolades. And I was strong enough to take the blame when it was due, and I was really, to me, I grew up, my father always told me, it's like, be nice with your teammates because you don't want like 10 players to play against you, and so that's one thing, the relationship I had with my players. Not too many defensemen had to pay meals on the road, put it this way. I want to make sure that everybody's fed well so they could block shots for me when I was out of position.
So, Marty, you were, if I've got this correct, you were known for a stand-up style of goalie play as opposed to what's called a butterfly technique. Now, not all of our listeners are steeped in hockey. Can you tell them the difference between the two and when you would use one and not the other?
Yeah, well, I was like more of like a stand-up hybrid goalie, so I would go down once in a while, but not as much. I think what happened is the game has changed a lot in the last 20 years, especially at the goalie position. Like goalies now are big guys that cover a lot of net, and so like anything in business and analytic, it becomes a huge part of our sport, and so it's all about percentages. So how do you create a style of goaltending that gives you the best chance to stop the puck without, moving too much or, having to go side to side as fast as we used to when we played, because we played out of the feel of the game when I played. So we were standing up, we were more on our skates. Now goalies are more on their knees and they're sliding across. So, obviously, like the percentage of the shots was always going to be the low part of the net, because if you look at the people in the front, you got legs and skates, or you got pads and body that are really big. So everything, shots are low. So how do you put a style that you cover the lowest part of the net first? And that's what butterfly came in. Is like they wanted to do that. To me, I really enjoyed playing the game and making the save and reading the plays. And so I needed to be more of a stand-up kind of a hybrid goalie, because being on the ice all the time, I just didn't feel comfortable as far as controlling the game. But everybody's different. I was a really good skater. Like I said, I played forward till I was 8, and I wanted to be a forward. Like my game with my stick ending ability, you could tell that I know how, the hockey sense was there, and I'm able to read plays. And by doing that, I created my own style that was more of a hybrid type of goalie, stand up, than a guy that would automatically go down. And that's what I would say 99% of the goalie right now are butterfly goalies, or goalies that will go down. I work in the business, and like, if you're not a guy that's at 6 foot tall at least, and that's on the small side, like, teams are not looking at you anymore. Like, guys are like 6'5", 6'7", 6'6", 6'4". I mean, they're monsters. And plus the equipment, plus the skates, and plus the way they play their style, it becomes harder. And you know what? The NHL, you have to give credit to the NHL, like the players, the skill level, the goals are up, and the goalies are getting bigger and bigger. And not because they're worse goalies. It's just because they made tweaks to the game as far as the hooking, no red line. There's a lot more, less interference in the game. Guys are able to work their skill. Smaller players are capable to play now. Before, it was more of a rough and tumble type of game. Now this is a fun hockey. I've watched this. That's what I do for a living now. I watch hockey every single day, and it still amazes me. And you're thinking like, thank God they weren't that good when I played, Scub. I'm not sure if I would have been able to do it.
I know the feeling.
I have that same thought every time I talk to some of these amazing engineering students. But